Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy, Big G, Greg Lewis, from the 206 in Seattle with, the dogs and our dude being Troy Russell. And let me shout out Troy, because Troy, guess what? This brother just got married. So congratulations to Troy Russell. We appreciate you guys all coming back.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. We've been gone for a minute, but we're back with To Be Honest. And, let me start off with something, real honest. This show is really about three dogs and our dude, Troy. And let's be honest, Troy is only relevant because he knows us. But you know what? That's okay. Because he's our boy and we love him. So he gets to be part of this show. And when Troy told me, he called me and said, Greg, let's talk about the Pac-12. You guys played in that conference when it was a Pac-10, and a lot of good things is happening going on. So let's have a show talking about that. So we felt like coming back, you guys, it would be a great opportunity for us to talk about what's happening in the Pac-12. So let me start off. There's a big game coming up this weekend, y'all, and all my dogs on the show right now know that the one team that the University of Washington hates, it's the University of Oregon. And some people may say this is sports, so maybe you got sports hate. Well, I got real hate for the Oregon Ducks. I'm just going to tell you right now. And this week, we play them. And this is number 7 versus number 8. And in Seattle, you guys, what they're really talking about is that this might be the biggest game in University of Washington regular season history played at Husky Stadium. So you got College game day coming. You got the number 7 versus the number 8 teams in the country playing here. You got the most bitter rival that we have in our history. And also, this is the last time that these two teams are going to face each other as Pac conference, where there's 8, 10, or 12, because our conference is going away after this year because of bad leadership, mismanagement, and frankly, 12 people who are supposed to be super smart. Those are the college presidents of these 12 institutions allowed this conference to be taken away. So there's a lot to get to in talking about that. And, there's been this guy, some of you might have heard of him, named Deion something, who Prime time has taken over Colorado in the Pac-12, a lot of hype. So let me start off by asking, the other two dogs and my dude, what do you guys think? Do you guys believe that this is the best conference in football, which I believe is the case, and it being our last year going out? What do you guys think about that? Am I overhyping it? Is this really the best conference team in football? And is Oregon, Washington this year the biggest game in Washington regular season history?
Well, no doubt. The Pac-12 now is the best conference in the nation. There's no doubt about it right now. This is the first time in the history of the Pac-10 or the Pac-12 conference or the Pac-8 conference. It's the first time in the history that there have been 4 teams that are ranked in the top 10. And you got Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, you got Utah, and not to mention the up and coming Colorado Buffaloes, and in Washington State, the Cougs are even good this year. I mean, from top to bottom, this is definitely the best conference in the nation. I mean, 'cause the years past, all we heard about was the SEC being the top dogs. But these things run in cycles, and unfortunately, it's bittersweet because the Pac-12 is back, and we can't even enjoy it. We can't even boast in it, really.
Yeah. I'm for one, I'm kind of over it, man. I'm a little disappointed. I feel like this is a big woman, dressing up and losing weight right after a breakup. Don't try to come around now with a new dress on and some lipstick and looking good and doing your hair now. You should have been doing that before you lost your man. Like, that's what's going on with the Pac-12. They trying to have this last hoorah, and it's all over with. Like, it's going to disperse next year. So we got people moving to the Big 12, to the Big 10. Like, I don't even know where Cal and Stanford going to end up. Like, it's a tragedy, man, for all this tradition to just go away. So I'm with Greg, man. Whoever is in charge, and whoever had something to do with this, man, like to me, like, man, heads should be, about to roll. Like, you can't just let something like this valuable
Let me
slip
ask
right
you
through
this
our
though,
hands.
Chuck, or Greg, or Troy. If Deion had came over a year ago, before UCLA and USC decided to leave, will you think the Pac-10 would still be in existence?
Well, I don't know, Don. That's a good question, but there's so many reasons and layers why the Pac-10 is folding that I don't know if Deion coming a year earlier would have solved the problem, because really money is at the root of all issues, as they say. And the television contracts for the Pac-12, when they were negotiating, weren't coming in high enough. And really, there was some strategic errors made by the Pac-12 conference that I don't know if USC and UCLA would have stayed. The key is if Deion Cumming would have continued to convince USC and UCLA to stay in the conference. Once they decided to pull out, it was a done deal, because now you got the biggest television market in the conference, which is Los Angeles, gone, and you have the traditional power that has nationwide appeal, which is USC, gone. So if Deion came earlier, would there have been enough interest in getting the television contracts at a high enough level for USC to stay? Then yes. If not, if USC, UCLA goes, it don't matter if 10 Deons that come to the conference.
I don't know, Greg. I don't know, man. I mean, let me ask you this. What was the highest rated college football game ever? I mean, which one was it? It was the Colorado State.
That wasn't
game,
the
right?
highest rated college football game ever. It was the highest rated late night college football game based on that, statistic and data, but it wasn't the highest rated college football game of all time. I guess my point is that consistently,
but that's just one game.
Time,
each one of his games has been the
each
highest.
one.
They got more. They got more. That rating was higher than the Ohio State Notre Dame game.
Right, and that's because but here's my point. That's the Deion effect that it has this year, right? So as things kind of move down the line, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that same effect isn't going to be there to hold that together.
Yeah, but when you negotiate these TV contracts, that would have been powerful potentially. I mean, I'm hypothetically
right, and I guess my only point is this: the Los Angeles market is going to be lost, and if you can't sustain, enough viewers week in and week out over 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, what if Colorado ends up, being a bad football team at some point, or Deion ends up leaving at some point? So when I'm negotiating, if I'm the television network, I know they're going to have great ratings this year with Deion, but are they going to still have great ratings next year and the year after if this isn't a sustained success? So I think that would have an impact.
I think it was by design, man. Like, it almost seemed like it was by design, because the mistakes that were made just seemed like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Like, I remember one day, all three of us going to a USC game at the Coliseum against Washington, and it started at midday. It was in the middle of the day. Well, a lot of those games were changed to night games. Why? Like, the people on the East Coast are not seeing those games. So you're left with, unwatched games for a lot of people. How come you kept it from when you had your best two teams in the North coming at least once a year, coming down to play, SC and UCLA, and you stopped that trend? Like, that was ridiculous. Like, those teams couldn't recruit from LA. They weren't getting the TV exposure that they should. You just kind of self-imploding on your own conference. Like, you're doing things that just seem counterproductive to your own good. Almost like you're point shaving and sabotaging, So, hey, man, it is what it is. Now, hey, we got to keep it pushing. And now we got to face Rutgers every once in a while. Who the hell wants to see them at the Coliseum?
Exactly. I don't disagree. I will say this.
Michigan too, though. I mean,
the Pac-12, the Pac-12 dissolving leaves Washington, Oregon having to figure out what do we do next. And the most logical move and the best move for those two teams was joining the Big Ten, because now the schedules come out for next year. And next year we got USC at UW, and we also got Michigan coming in here. So we have a great schedule that's going to produce what I think is some new rivalries and a lot of excitement, because that conference is going to be, we talk about this year, the Pac-12 being the best conference in football. Now you take the best teams in the Pac-12, sans Utah. Utah's been playing well, but they won't be a part of where we are next year. But you still got Washington, Oregon, and USC. And now you add Michigan, you add Ohio State. You have Wisconsin and Iowa, which are good, solid teams each and every year.
Penn State.
Michigan State is having some issues right now with all the coaching stuff, but they're typically have been a good football team. Man, this conference is going to be by far the best conference in football. The SEC, who? But let me ask you, Troy, my dude over here, we're biased. Me, Don, and Chuck are biased as former Huskies. As someone from an outside purview who's not a former Husky football player, and you grew up in the Midwest watching a Minnesota, from the state of Minnesota, what do you think right now this year, who's the best conference in college football?
Well, I think, probably top to bottom, the most interesting conference, no doubt about it, is the Pac-12. I mean, everybody is, can't wait to see Deion play. Can't wait to see the USC play with Caleb Williams. Can't wait to see, Washington play with Michael Penix. I mean, definitely the Pac-12 is the conference that I think the nation is kind of, excited to see. But you still have, who in the Pac-12 can beat Georgia? I don't know. Who in the Pac-12, has a, chance at beating Alabama? I don't know, So until they do it, until somebody
Washington, Oregon,
well, like I said, until they do it, I mean, they haven't done it. Those teams have, keep winning national championships every year. The SEC champion usually wins the national championship every year. And so until another conference comes in and knocks them off and starts consistently winning it, like Georgia and Alabama have, then, it's kind of hard to say that, the Pac-12 is the best conference until they start, proving it. But, like you guys said, they're not. This year is the only chance that they're going to have to prove it. So let's see what happens. I can't wait to see who those four teams are going to be. And I hope it's Washington, and I hope Washington. I would love to see a Washington, Georgia championship game. That would be awesome.
Man, dude, next time at least answer the question. We didn't say who has the best team. We said who's the best conference. I mean, you talked about a Georgia team. Yeah, Georgia might be better than every team in the Pac-12. But if we got 7 teams that at the end of the year end up with 1 loss and the SEC has 1 or 2, to me, that makes the conference better. And I think week in and week out, think about this, Troy, right now, Georgia against Mississippi State. That's not a good football game. That's going to be a blowout.
Okay.
Georgia
You're right.
against, even LSU's not that good this year. LSU has already, lost a football game. But right now, if Washington's playing Oregon, this is going to be a barn burner. When Oregon State and Washington State played, that was a tough football game. Hell, USC almost lost to Arizona State this week. So I think game for game and conference depth and how many tough games you got to play every week, I think the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football.
I don't know that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, Georgia, you got Georgia, the SEC, you got Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky.
Okay.
Kentucky, Florida, Florida's no good. Alabama's haven't been playing great ball this year. I mean,
those teams, yeah.
Traditionally, the SEC has been better, but top to bottom, top to bottom is no doubt the Pac-12 is the best this year. Now, we're still mid-season, and there is a lot to prove. I won't, begrudge that. But, somebody's going to fall out of the top rankings or going to drop a couple spots after this game this week in this interconference. And so, but that doesn't happen in the SEC, though. Like,
Yeah.
Georgia can take an L to Alabama or to Texas A&M or something. Those dudes are going to stay relatively at the top, but somebody's going to drop a couple points in this game. But, you know, it's still, they're going to be in striking distance, you know, and I think one of the reasons that Arizona State or Fresno State or San Jose State can play, you know, that's where Reggie Bush made his name off of Fresno State. And then San Jose State played one of our teams tough this year. Those teams are California teams, and there's so many people here. A lot of kids don't get recruited at USC and UCLA can only take so many. So they end up flooding the Pac-12 with really good players. But it's just not enough to consistently win. But any given day, you could lose to one of those teams. And that's, I think, what the Pac-12 kind of.
Yeah,
you know,
but I think right now, you know, if we're focusing on just this year, the evidence to me is overwhelming. You know, you mentioned in your ramble there, Troy, about Auburn. Take Auburn, for example. They played the California team in the Pac-12 who has not won a conference game yet. Yet California gave Auburn everything they could handle, 14-10. Auburn has 2 losses. They're unranked. Look how many ranked Pac-12 teams there are in the country right now. And
what about LSU?
And see
what about how
LSU
good LSU is?
LSU lost 2 games, man.
Yeah, LSU's lost 2 football games this year. Auburn's lost 2 football games.
To Florida State, the ACC team.
And the University of Florida got shellacked by a Pac-12 team who didn't even have their full team.
Didn't have the starting quarterback.
Yeah, didn't have their starting quarterback, and they shellacked them. And that team has already taken a big L by a conference team in the Pac-12. I'm just saying this year, Troy, I'm not saying the Pac-12 has taken over college football historically, but this year, what I think the point is, and this is what I think Chuck was saying, and the reason why he's so disappointed is if we start from this year, and we were able to build on what's there, because what I think the reason that the Pac-12 is the best right now are 2 reasons: great quarterbacking and really good coaching hires over the last several years. And that's something you build on and you continue to grow. Well, unfortunately, because of Larry Scott, Gary Kilcoff, and the 12 presidents of the Pac-12 universities, who, let's face it, are leaders over some of the highest rated research institutions in the country, were not smart enough to negotiate the right television deals. They weren't smart enough to know that you can't, you know, put together a television contract that doesn't include direct TV. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. And they were so short-sighted that they put, like Chuck just said, some of your best teams playing in television slots where a whole half of the country was going to be asleep before they woke up. They allowed that to be negotiated. And then they said, you know what? Instead of allowing the television networks to do what they do best, which is to produce and broadcast sports, we're going to create our own network, which we don't do well at. And it's been a flop. The Pac-12 network has been a flop. And they also said, let's put our offices, everybody in the country has their conference headquarters in the most budget-friendly cities where the cost of living is relatively low. We put the Pac-12 headquarters in the most expensive place to live in the country. So our studio and our conference offices cost millions of dollars every year, where everybody else's might cost $80,000 to $90,000. So it's just been a cluster from top to bottom.
I don't see a lot of Oregon games on TV here in LA. You know, like I should be seeing Oregon games. I got to hunt down the Washington games to see them here in LA. You know, like our venues should be better. You know, like Cal's Stadium needs an upgrade. You know, Stanford did a little bit, but I think these venues need to be better. They need to be more inviting to exciting games, you know, like Virginia Tech. Everybody wants to see what's going on in Virginia Tech, and they ain't been good since I don't know when, you know, but you want to hear when the Sandman come out. Like, Washington is a great experience, but a lot of people don't even know that. Like people here in LA don't even know. They haven't even seen that picture, that portrait that you have behind you right there. People in LA would be shocked to see that. So like, we're not promoting, we're not putting our best foot forward. We didn't, and now it's gone.
Now
and
it's gone. It's too late.
100 years, damn near 100 years of history or something like that. Like it ain't that long, but I mean, the Pac has been around a long time. There's a lot of great players, a lot of great history. It's sad, but hey man, keep it pushing. We'll go join the Big Ten and do what we do over there, you know. But I remember being excited about seeing SC play them them big dudes from Ohio State and whatever. So, you know, now to be on the regular season deal, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be exciting being a part of a conference, the Big, whatever it's called. We'll just call it the Big for now, because I think this will be definitely comparable. And I think at this point of where we are in the evolution of the super conferences, I think the Big Conference has taken a step ahead of the Southeastern Conference. Now, I know the Southeastern Conference is not going to sit by and allow the Big to pass them, which I would say, like right now, if you add Washington, Oregon, you got Michigan, Ohio State, and all the teams that we mentioned just a minute ago, I think that conference is bigger and better than the Southeastern Conference. So what's the Southeastern Conference next move? Well, when the television deal with the ACC gets up, now right now, I think there's about 7 to 10 years left on that contract. But Florida State and Clemson have said that they're going to try to find a way, if they can. Now, it will cost them a whole lot of money to get out of that contract. And if they do, their moves to go to SEC. I think we're moving to a place where there's going to be two super conference in college football, and everybody else is going to have to, deal with the scraps. Now, having said that, we got 12 spots in the playoffs now.
It'll turn into the NFL. You have your AFC and your NFL conferences, and that'll get, and you have your 40, 50 teams or whatever it'll be. But I know you still got Texas, you still have Miami, you still have
Notre Dame. That's not in the conference at all.
But Texas is going to the SEC.
Texas is going to the SEC.
Texas is going to the SEC.
Will be in the SEC next year.
Oh, yep. Texas and Oklahoma. Yep.
Yeah.
So like
it's on there, Chuck. It's already you're right, Chuck. It's the AFC versus the NFC.
Right.
One team from one of those conferences is going to win the championship every year. Yeah, I don't see any, and that's crazy, fellas. Let me ask you guys this question. Now, the country has been just enthralled by Deion Sanders, right? I mean, he's turned that program around. We've had a conversation on this show, and a lot of you guys didn't think that he would be as successful as he is right now. What has surprised you? Chuck, I'll let you go first on this one. What has surprised you most about what Deion has been able to accomplish over there in Colorado?
Nothing, actually. I felt he would be good.
I think we all. I mean, where you get that from, Troy? Who?
Greg, I think we got to rewind the tape. We got to rewind the tape because.
I raised my hand, but I said I'll raise my hand, but what I said was absolutely true, and it still is true. You guys said that Deion stated that we're not coming to do anything but win. We're coming to compete for the championship right now. And so the question that was posed back then was, would Colorado compete for the Pac-12 championship in his first year? And I said, absolutely not. And I was absolutely right. He is way better than he was because the bar was low, but he's not competing for the Pac-12 championship. Absolutely not.
Just because he caught the Pac-12 on an up year, though, too. Like, if this were a regular Pac-12
I don't care. I'm still right.
Huh?
I'm still right.
Nah. Look, what he's done there so far, I'm not surprised by. I feel like because it's based in good character, that has a lot to do with what he's bringing back to football. It's a lot of just straight good character. Like you go in and say, I'm bringing my luggage. Hey, and they gonna play. And here's the situation. And he said, basically, if you get up and move, if you get off of your square, if you jump ship, then that ain't the place for you. And I feel like America needs to get back to that overall. I feel like that's just a place where people need to learn how to stand and fight, need to learn how to, especially this younger generation, not expect your mom and other people to come fight for you. Hey, to stand and fight and to compete. And that's what he's doing. And what he's doing as a coach, showing those dudes a lot of love, a lot of team spirit and compassion. Those dudes have fought and won games that they should not have won. And as a matter of fact, it got so weird to where we're complaining that they're not beating Colorado State by a whole lot of points. Well, they shouldn't be beating Colorado State at all. They should just be climbing up to compete with them. But they're, so what he's done there, I don't think is a big surprise based on what is built on the foundation of it. You still going to, and he's going to attract a lot of kids too, man. He's going to continue to attract players. They'll
already got a 4-star Deion coming in there that he just got last week.
Yeah, Don, I want you to speak, because I've been talking a lot, but I just have to jump in here before we go. In what world is Charles Mincy talking about where Colorado should be working hard just to compete with Colorado State? That does not make sense. Colorado should be dominating Colorado State year in and year out.
They win last year.
That doesn't matter. The fact that Colorado is a Power 5 school and Colorado State is not. There's no way in the world that they should be fighting and scratching and clawing to play with Colorado State. Now, Don, I'm gonna let you jump in, but I got some other stuff that I'll say after Don, because I'm sure Don will say some things that I need to tear apart too.
Well, listen, man. I like I said before, I'm a Deion fan. I love what he's doing in Colorado, but I think their expectations are a little too high because, like you said, they expect to come in and just win a championship or contend for a Pac-12 championship. They're not at that level yet. I predicted that, if he can go 7-5, that would be the greatest coaching job in college football history. If he can go 75 in the Pac-12, that would be tremendous. But if they can, right now, it's going to be tough. The schedule, they'll be 5-2
more games, right?
They'll be 5-2 after this weekend because they play at Stanford. But after that, they got Arizona, UCLA, Washington State, Utah, I can't. They're gonna be. They won't be favored in any of those games more than likely. Arizona is good.
Travis Hunter will be back.
What's that?
They've been winning games without their best player, and he'll be back. So that's going to be interesting. So
that's a good point. Now, but I just hope. I just hope they didn't set their expectation too high. Because what he's doing is remarkable. Chuck got a point now. Colorado they were not only the worst team in the country last year. Their loss of their loss margin. They lost by an average score of like 40 points a game or something like that. This dude he took 70 players and got 70 brand new players. It takes time to build a team, and for him to be competing at this level, man, I think Deion is doing a remarkable job. But I don't think they're gonna, they're gonna struggle. If they think they're gonna, if they can go 75, that's gonna be tough, man. I got them going.
Go to a bowl game, it's remarkable, and what they're doing is remarkable. Are you getting the views? You're getting the views because people are noticing this is incredible. You wouldn't just jumped on Nebraska like they were nothing. You beat TCU, who was in the national championship last year. Those aren't easy wins. You're not just picking off bum teams. These are significant wins. You play USC down to the wire. Hey man, they're doing something special there. That's not
without their best player.
Without their playing, so this is pretty remarkable. for a team that was trash last.
My only thing is that Deion built this team from, outside in instead of inside out, right? And what they struggle at is up front. When you playing, and that's going to be the issue with the teams that I just mentioned. Those teams are like they got big boys up front, and and I think that's gonna come back and hurt them. I think as the season goes on, man, because if you don't have the linemen, man, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna beat the Utahs, man. With the big Samoan boys up there,
it's
man,
tough,
come on, dog.
It's tough.
Man,
Shador's been hit more than any other quarterback in the country. So
much hyperbole. Let me start off by saying I love what Deion Sanders is doing, and I love the way he's doing it. And I'm a super Deion Sanders fan. Having said that, he beat a 3-3 TCU team. You guys are acting like this was who just got blown out, by the way, by Iowa State. Got blown out by Iowa State. That's not a good football team that he beat. Colorado State has never been a good football team. They are not even a Power 5 school. He beat them. So you guys are acting like Deion actually beats them. He's padded his preseason with non-good football teams that he beat.
Wait a minute. How do you pad?
Let me finish. I'm not saying he padded it. I'm not saying he padded the schedule. I'm saying the teams that he beat are not good. Name one team. Name one preseason team he beat that was good.
Well, TCU favorite. They was 20-point underdog.
TCU was 3-3. They just got blown out by Iowa State. They are not a good football team.
They lost to Colorado.
They're not. They weren't good before they played Colorado. They are not a good football team.
They were 20-point favorites. Troy. I just shared with you.
But
what TCU
listen to what I'm saying, though, Greg.
They're not a good football team. They're just
I'm not disagreeing with you, Greg.
That's all
what I'm saying is, by the fact that he took a team that had the worst roster by far last year, and now they're winning games.
Not the same team. It's not the same team. The roster is completely turned over. The roster is completely different. The University of Washington went 0-12 in 2008. 0-12. They didn't beat anybody. They got spanked by they lost to a Washington State team who only won a game against a 1AA team. And that was the only game they won. And they beat the Huskies that year. The very next year, they turned around and won 6 football games. I don't hear anyone saying that was the best coaching job in the history of football. And they didn't have a transfer portal in order to do that, to go out and get great players like Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter. They did it without the transfer portal. So I'm not taking away anything Deion has done. All I'm saying is that the hyperbole of him, taking and beating good teams, he hasn't beat a good team yet this year.
USC's a good team, right? Because they competed like
they didn't beat them. They didn't beat USC, Troy. You could talk
I know
about
they didn't beat them.
Shoulda, woulda. They lost. They haven't beat a good team this year. Is my only point. So, has he done a fantastic job? Absolutely. I'm just saying, y'all putting a little too much on it. That's my only point. Y'all putting a little too much on it.
I'm not putting. I'm being subjective, man. I'm just stating the facts.
You trying to retroactively kind of support your stance from last year, which is just wrong.
My stance was right. I said they would not compete for a championship. They're not.
They lost the first game of the season to a team that they think that they should not have lost to. That could cause problems on teams and cause you to lose more games. That can derail teams. So
that's not bad because they're not a good football team.
Nah. You don't call it's not that they just was at in the national championship game. So
college football as well as I do. It's not like pros where you bring the same kids back. People graduate, and when they graduate and they leave, especially your best players, the quarterback and the wide receiver were the best players by far, and they're both gone now. So it's not the same football team. I'm not trying to retroactively prove a point, Chuck, because my only point was this. It wasn't that Deion wasn't going to do a good job. I knew Deion would do good. We know Deion is one of one. he is one of them dudes. I expected him to do a good job. My only point that I made was this. I saw how good the Pac-12 was going to be this year, and my statement was they won't compete for a championship in the Pac-12 because this conference is too good. I saw it. Like I said, I do media for the Pac-12, so I saw how good this conference was going to be. That was my only point, Chuck. I'm just saying that now we're putting a little more on it, though, because and Deion didn't make the schedule, and I them playing TCU was taking on a big challenge. But I'm saying it turned out that TCU's just not that good this year. They're just not that good of a football program.
Greg, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If Colorado is to win, they've already won. You were just on the record stating that the Pac-12 is the best conference in football. Mm-hmm. If he is to win a couple of more Pac-12 games this year, which he has a chance to, he was probably going to beat Stanford. He's already beaten Arizona State. If he gets, say, 2-3 more games, how would you quantify his season?
I would think that he did a really, and again, I think he's doing a good job and having a good season. I'm just saying, y'all putting a little more on it that he's done the best coaching job in the history. I don't believe that to be true. And Troy, I don't think he's going to win that many more Pac-12 football games because this conference is so tough. Now, at the end of the year,
he's going to get National Coach of the Year, and if he wins 7 games, it probably will be the best coaching job that we've seen, or one of the best that we've seen. It's going to be
a great job, but we know he's going to win. We know he's going to win National College Coach of the Year, Chuck, because of the hype. And college football is smart. There's a reason that they are turned into $1 billion industry. You got to promote Deion Sanders. You got to push him out there. You got to put his name out there and draw attention. Do you think college football don't want to draw all those viewers in? So if you give him College Coach of the Year, you're going to draw more viewers in. So you got to leverage what you have. My point is this.
That's Chuck, kind of a chicken or the egg theory. Like, you're saying that you got to promote Deion. Well, you got to promote Deion because of what he's doing. Right. That's why you got to promote Deion. Like,
right. And if he has a 7-5 record in the top conference in the nation, that's remarkable.
I'm not saying that's not, but right now he's won one Pac-12 game against the second worst team in the conference. That's it. He's beat Arizona State, second worst team. He'll beat Stanford. If he goes on to wins 4 more, absolutely, he deserves it. I don't think he will, one. Secondly, my point was this about what I was saying on that. I'm just saying if Deion wins 2 more games, let's say he beats Stanford, let's say a Washington State, somebody like that, which is a good win, good solid win. They're going to promote him for Coach of the Year just on that, because now you, again, have a ability to say Deion was National Coach of the Year. Come watch him play, even though he only won, 5 games against the worst teams in the conference. You're going to push him for that either way. That's all I'm saying about that. You're going to promote him for that anyway, because that's money in the bank, whether he wins 4 or 5 more games or not. If Deion goes on and wins a bunch more Pac-12, he absolutely deservedly so. I'm just saying they're going to push that marketing button regardless of whether he wins those games or not. It's my only point there.
Well, I mean, they have to. You have to.
Yeah.
That's money in the bank. That's money in the bank. But they're not promoting what Oregon State is doing.
Oregon State is relevant to this whole conversation. Oregon State doesn't even have a conference. You're not going to promote a team who's homeless. Oregon State doesn't even have a conference that they belong to. After this year, nobody has picked up Oregon State or Washington State because that would be silly. So you're not going to promote a team that no one's going to watch because they don't even have a home next year. They might play 5 games against Oregon State next year. They might have a 5-game home-and-home schedule against Oregon State because they don't even have a schedule to play next year. They don't have a conference. So you're not going to promote what Oregon State does. That'd be crazy.
Right. Now, I said, with that said, Oregon State beat Utah this year.
Yeah.
They did.
And don't have no home. That's sad. That's sad.
Yep. All right, fellas, I know we touched on it a little bit, but I really need to get y'all's opinion on this big game on Saturday, man. I know we talked a little bit about it, but this Washington-Oregon game is huge, man. And And Don, man, tell me who's going to win and why.
Oh, you dub, man, baby. You know hey, man, I think it's going to be a great game. Oregon is solid from top to bottom, but Washington at home, it's going to be crazy. I mean, that stadium is going to be rocking. You know, Washington, we one thing about all my years, just being a part of the program, I played there. But one thing that was consistent, whenever we had a good team and we played a big game, we never lost at Husky Stadium, man. When we were good, when we had a big game come, we just don't lose at Husky Stadium, man. It's gonna be rocking. The fans gonna be ready, the players are gonna be ready to go, and I really like what this coaching staff is doing, man. Coach DeBoer, man, I love what he's doing at Washington. His teams are always prepared, and they got and the coaching there has been phenomenal. And I think they're gonna outcoach Oregon. I think they're gonna outplay Oregon. I think they're gonna out-hit Oregon. So let's make it. I can't wait to see it, man. But I defer to you, Greg. You the Mr. Seattle guy. You there now? You on the media team there at the University of Washington pregame. So man, I can't wait to hear what you got to say about it.
Well, why don't we let one of my favorite Huskies of all time, Mr. Lockdown, Charles Ice Mincy, go, and then I'll have the final word.
Okay.
Yeah, let me step in because I feel like Greg's would be more in depth, and mine's gonna be much of a matter.
The best for last. I get it. I got you.
Yeah,
I'm not all that, but I'm a little more connected. So I'll let you guys go first and then share some thoughts.
Yeah, Greg have a more educated opinion on this. I'm strictly going as a fan. I love Penix and what he's doing. I love the passing game. I like what the new coaches got going. They're playing a lot more solidly on defense. And I just don't really care for the Ducks. So my thing is, man, I'm just riding with the dogs on this one. I just got a gut feeling it's gonna go that way. So I ain't really got no in-depth analysis on it. We just gonna stomp heads this weekend. So we just got to bring it back, man, to the days of old. So you got to have that attitude about it, and that's where we got to go with it.
Well, let me bring it on home, Chuck. I think you are actually more on target about this from a in-depth standpoint than you think, and here's why I say this. When it comes to statistics, Washington is the number 1 offense in the country, but Oregon is the number 2 offense in the country. Once you get outside of that stat, Oregon actually has the advantage over Washington in total defense. I think Oregon right now is coming in at number 6 in the country. They do well against the run. They do well against the pass. And defensively, Washington has not put up great numbers overall, but some of that's misleading. The Huskies have been up early in most all their games, and their coaches have taken on the attitude that we want all of our players be prepared to play in big games. So we've taken our starters off the field early in football games, and our second string has given up some runs. They've given up some scores, and so it doesn't look as good on the defensive statistics. Oregon, though, is solid in every aspect of the game. Let's see. They throw the ball well. They run the ball extremely well. They defend the run pretty good, and they defend the pass extremely well, which is the thing that we do the most, is throw the football. So when you look at data and stats and all of that, Oregon looks like they might win. But what Don said, this game is at Husky Stadium. The Husky Stadium fans are going to come in full force. They're going to be loud. They're going to be crazy, and they're going to be ready to give that energy. But Truck, what you just said, it's just about playing football now. It's about gut. It's about who wants it more. It's about who's going to play the hardest, who's going to hit the hardest. And I believe that this Washington Husky football team is going to treat this like it's their Super Bowl, like it's their national championship. They understand this rivalry. This coaching staff has only been here 2 years, but they understand this rivalry. These
It is
kids
their national
understand.
championship.
Yeah, and this team and these kids understand what this means. So I think because of how determined they will be and how much energy they will get from their home fans and their crowd, and the history and tradition of all that has meant and built Washington football, that Oregon has tried to mock and turn their nose up since they've had Uncle Phil Knight come in and put $1 trillion in their football program and all the fancy uniforms and all of the hype and all the marketing and all of that crap. They're going to say, you know what? Football's not won that way. Football's won on the field with guts and heart and hard hitting and sweat and tears and all of that. And I think because of that, exactly what you guys said, the Husky home field and Chuck, that football wanting to get it done is why I believe the Huskies are going to win. So don't believe the stats, believe the hype. The Dogs are going to get it done.
3 o'clock Saturday Eastern time, 12 o'clock Pacific time. Be the game of the weekend. I'm sure that all of us are going to be watching, and you guys should watch too. Thank you so much for tuning in. To be honest, it was an awesome show. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment. Make sure you tell us how you feel about us. Make sure you give us all the love we deserve. You guys be easy.
Go Dogs.
Peace. Go Dogs.